I spent 27 years building automotive security systems worth $420 million, only to be fired 96 hours before my $180,000 bonus. They had no idea I owned the code that made their merger possible. Monday, 11 a.m., the termination notice was sitting on my desk when I got back from the break room. Garrett Walsh must have dropped it there while I was getting coffee. No ceremony, no courtesy call, just expensive company letterhead with my name typed across the middle. Effective immediately. HR downstairs, 27 years gone in 5 words. I'm Hudson Clarke. I'm 54 years old, and I just got fired from Thunder Automotive Solutions. The place where I'd built the auto-secure system, my baby, my legacy, my life's work. What Garrett Walsh didn't know was that he'd just lit a fuse on a bomb that would explode in 96 hours and destroy his $420 million Stellantis merger. My $120,000 performance bonus was scheduled to hit Friday at 11 a.m. Garrett probably thought he was being smart. Fire the old guy before his payday, save the company money, prove to daddy he could make tough decisions. His Wharton MBA didn't teach him to read the fine print on contracts written by men who'd survived Detroit's automotive wars. That bonus wasn't just money. It was a trigger. 15 years ago, Jordan Wells, Thunder's founder, wrote a clause into my contract that nobody else knew about. Jordan was former UAW Local 600, the kind of shop steward who'd fight plant managers over safety violations and win. When he started Thunder after Ford's downsizing, he brought that same mentality to the executive suite. The clause was simple. Once my annual bonus paid, full legal ownership of the auto-secure system would transfer to me, not symbolic, not a handshake deal. Full intellectual property rights filed with the state, sitting in escrow, waiting for that electronic payment. Without auto-secure, Thunder had nothing to offer Stellantis except empty promises and PowerPoint presentations. I signed the paperwork without a word. My hands were steady. I'd been expecting this since Brandon Walsh brought his 28-year-old son in as VP of Strategic Development. The kid had been gunning for me from day one, probably eyeing my salary and thinking about better ways to spend it. Walking past Garrett's corner office, I could see him on the phone through the glass walls, gesturing wildly, probably updating his father on his brilliant cost-cutting measure. I left a small black USB drive on my desk where he could see it. Let him think it was important. That drive had been empty for 5 years. Every real backup, every line of critical auto-secure code, every security protocol that made our system worth $420 million, all of it was locked behind biometric encryption that only recognized my thumbprint and retinal scan. I walked through Thunder's lobby for the last time, past the wall of automotive industry awards, past the framed photos of Jordan with Detroit auto executives, past the receptionist who'd been saying good morning to me for 8 years. She looked confused when I nodded goodbye. Outside in the February cold, I climbed into my F-150 and sat there, engine running, watching people walk in and out of the building where I'd spent more waking hours than at home. In 96 hours, this would all be different. Patricia was grading geometry tests when I walked into our kitchen. She looked up from red ink-covered papers and took one look at my face. Let me guess. Garrett. I handed her the termination notice. She read it twice, her jaw getting tighter each time. That little prince thinks he can just throw away 27 years. Patricia's been my wife for 26 years. She taught high school math through the auto industry's worst crashes, watched me work 16-hour days during crisis after crisis, supported every career decision, even when it meant missing family dinners. She'd earned the right to be angry. He thinks he's saving money. Cut me loose before my bonus pays Friday. How much money? $80,000. She whistled low. That's college tuition for Mason when he's ready. Was college tuition? Patricia studied my face the way she'd read algebra textbooks for 26 years. But there's something else. That look you get when you're 3 moves ahead in chess. I poured coffee, added cream the same way I'd been doing every morning for 2 decades. Through the kitchen window, I could see the bird feeder Patricia hung last spring still attracting cardinals despite the snow. Remember Jordan's retirement party? His speech about protecting what we built. He didn't just mean Thunder, he meant the work, the auto-secure system. He wrote a clause into my contract 15 years ago that nobody knows about. Patricia set down her pen. What kind of clause, Hudson? The kind that transfers full ownership of auto-secure to me the moment my bonus clears. She blinked. Come again. Friday at 11 a.m. when that $80,000 hits my account. I become the legal owner of every line of code, every patent, every licensing agreement tied to AutoSecure. Not Thunder. Me. And without that system, Stellantis has no reason to pay $420 million for Thunder. The merger dies. Patricia leaned back, processing. From the living room came the sound of our 9-year-old grandson Mason laughing at cartoons. Hudson, that's Jordan's entire legacy you're talking about. Jordan knew exactly what he was doing. We were at Buddy's Pizza after pulling an all-nighter fixing a Ford security breach. This was 2009, right after the bailout, when nobody knew if the auto industry would survive. Jordan looked exhausted, older than his 58 years. I could still see him across that red vinyl booth, sleeves rolled up, tiger's cap askew, talking between bites about automotive cybersecurity's future. He said something I'll never forget. Hudson, I've seen too many good companies gutted by people who don't understand what makes them valuable. When I'm gone, I want to make sure our work can't be destroyed by some MBA who thinks everything's just numbers on a spreadsheet. So he wrote you in as a failsafe. Exactly. The transfer agreement's been sitting in escrow for 15 years. Jordan figured if anyone tried to push me out before I was ready to retire, they'd learn why that was a mistake. Patricia shook her head. Garrett has no idea what he just did. None. And when Stellantis starts asking about key personnel continuity, he's going to find out the hard way. I went upstairs and powered up my workstation. The familiar hum of servers filled the room like a mechanical heartbeat. On the main screen, I pulled up a countdown timer and set it for Friday, 11 a.m. Red numbers appeared, 95 hours, 28 minutes, 14 seconds. Then I did something I'd been preparing for since Jordan explained the clause. I opened a secure partition and accessed automated protocols I'd built years ago. Insurance, Jordan had called it, a dead man's switch for the digital age. The first protocol was an email scheduler. If AutoSecure licensing rights weren't renewed by Friday at 11 a.m. and they couldn't be without me as an active Thunder employee, automated messages would send to 3 key people at Stellantis. Amanda Foster, their lead counsel, Garrett Riley, CEO of Stellantis North America, and their CTO who'd personally approved the AutoSecure integration. The message was simple. As of Friday, February 16th at 11 a.m., Thunder Automotive Solutions no longer holds valid licensing rights to the AutoSecure protocol central to the Stellantis merger integration. Please review Section 12 of the merger agreement regarding key personnel continuity requirements. Section 12, the clause listing 3 Thunder employees as essential personnel whose departure before merger completion would trigger renegotiation rights for Stellantis. My name was first on that list. Garrett had signed the merger agreement 8 months ago at the Marriott Renaissance Center, probably never reading past the executive summary. The second protocol was more subtle. Every major automotive news outlet would receive anonymous tips about personnel changes at Thunder affecting the Stellantis merger. Nothing specific, nothing traceable, just enough to get reporters asking questions Garrett couldn't answer. I sat back and watched the countdown tick down. 95 hours, 26 minutes, 8 seconds. My phone buzzed. Jennifer Foster, one of our senior engineers. I'd been mentoring Jennifer for 5 years since she graduated Wayne State with computer engineering and hunger to learn that reminded me of myself at her age. Mr. Clarke heard what happened. This is wrong. Can we talk? I called her back immediately. Jennifer, you don't waste time. Sir Garrett's been asking about AutoSecure architecture all afternoon. He had IT trying to access your secured directories. Did they get in? Not even close, but he's panicking. Started talking about bringing in outside consultants, maybe licensing similar systems from competitors. Interesting. Garrett was already looking for alternatives, which meant he understood Thunder's value depended entirely on AutoSecure. What did you tell him? That AutoSecure isn't just software. It's integrated hardware-software with proprietary encryption protocols. You can't swap it out like changing brake pads. Jennifer was smart. Too smart to stay at Thunder under Garrett's leadership. Good answer. Whatever happens next few days, you've got a bright future. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Sir, are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying keep your options open. Tuesday, 6:15 a.m. I woke before my alarm, Navy habits dying hard. Patricia was still asleep, so I went downstairs quietly and made coffee. The house felt different, lighter, maybe. Outside, Mrs. Kowalski scraped ice off her Buick's windshield. She'd been our neighbor for 12 years, a retired Ford secretary who still drove to mass every morning. Normal people doing normal things, while my professional world was about to implode. My phone had 2 missed calls and 3 emails from reporters, Detroit Free Press, Crane's Detroit Business, Reuters. The countdown read 76 hours, 45 minutes, 22 seconds. Halfway through my first cup of Folgers, my email chimed, Rebecca Martinez from Automotive News. Thunder Automotive personnel changes, request for comment. Her email was professional but direct, mentioning personnel changes affecting technical integration timelines. I replied with one sentence. I'd suggest asking Thunder's leadership about Section 12 compliance and essential personnel requirements. That was all it would take. Rebecca was a good reporter who actually read merger agreements instead of copying press releases. She'd find Section 12 and start asking uncomfortable questions. My phone rang at 8 a.m. sharp. Amanda Foster from Stellantis. Mr. Clarke, thank you for taking my call. I'm lead counsel for Stellantis North America. We've had questions about the Thunder merger, specifically key personnel requirements. I kept my voice neutral. Section 12, you're familiar with it? I should be. My name's first on the list. A pause. Yes, it is. Mr. Clarke, there seems to be confusion about your employment status. Our records show you as essential personnel, but we've received conflicting information. What kind of conflicting information? A reporter called asking about personnel changes affecting merger timelines. When we contacted Thunder for clarification, we were told you were no longer with the company as of yesterday. I let that hang. That's accurate. Mr. Clarke, if you're no longer employed by Thunder, that creates substantial complications. Section 12 specifically states essential personnel departures trigger renegotiation rights. I'm familiar with the language. We need to verify current status of all licensing agreements tied to essential personnel, particularly AutoSecure. You'll need to ask Thunder for those certifications. They're having difficulty locating current certificates. I almost smiled. Garrett was probably tearing apart filing cabinets, looking for documents that didn't exist where he thought they should. That's unfortunate. Mr. Clarke, I'll be direct. Stellantis has invested 14 months and considerable resources based on representations about Thunder's capabilities. If there are AutoSecure licensing issues, Foster, I can't speak for Thunder's current licensing status. I'm no longer an employee. After we hung up, I watched the countdown timer. 74 hours, 12 minutes, 33 seconds. Instead of waiting for more calls, I opened my laptop and composed an email to Mason Riley, Thunder's longest-serving board member. Mason, I assume you're hearing from Stellantis about Section 12 compliance issues. As you know, my departure triggers certain contractual obligations that may affect Thunder's licensing arrangements. If the board wants to discuss options before Friday's deadline, I'm available, but not through Garrett. Hudson, I sent it and waited. Tuesday, 11:30 a.m. Patricia found me staring at the countdown timer while listening to WJR's morning talk show. How are you feeling? Different than I expected. I thought I'd be angrier. Instead, I just feel tired, like I've been holding my breath for 27 years and finally let it out. She sat across from my desk. Your chest been bothering you? I touched my sternum reflexively. The tightness had been there for months, stress manifesting in ways my 54-year-old body couldn't ignore. A little, nothing serious. Hudson, remember Dr. Singh's last checkup, pre-diabetes, blood pressure. He said you needed to reduce stress before it becomes something worse. I remember. Do you? I've been hearing promises about slowing down for 3 years. You still take calls during Mason's birthday parties. You still work weekends when we're supposed to be together. She was right. I'd missed too many family dinners, school plays, moments that mattered because some system was down or some client was panicking. This is different, Patricia. This is about protecting what Jordan built. Is it? Or is it about proving 27 years meant something? That hit home. Part of me needed to see Garrett fail, needed him to understand what he'd thrown away with his casual cruelty. Maybe both, then finish it. But when this is over, when that timer hits 0, you're done, really done. No more midnight calls, no more weekend emergencies, no more choosing work over family. Deal. My phone buzzed with Mason's response. Conference call set for 2 p.m. Brandon will be there. We need solutions, not problems. Tuesday, 2 p.m. The conference call was tense from the first minute. Brandon Walsh sounded like he'd aged 10 years since yesterday. Hudson, first I want to apologize for Garrett's actions. They were inexcusable. Apology accepted, Brandon. Mason jumped in. Hudson, we need to know exactly what we're dealing with. Stellantis is asking for documentation we can't locate. Their lawyers are using words like material breach and contract termination. The auto-secure licensing certificates are in a secure partition tied to my employee credentials. When my access was terminated yesterday, the system automatically locked down. Can you unlock it? I could, but that would require me to be reinstated as an employee, which would contradict the termination Garrett signed yesterday. Brandon cleared his throat. What if we offered you a consulting contract? Temporary, just to get us through the merger. At what rate? We were thinking $2,000 a day. I did the math quickly. The merger was supposed to close in 6 weeks. Even at $2,000 a day for 42 days, it wouldn't approach the value of what I'd own outright in 2 days. Brandon, that's generous, but it doesn't solve the underlying problem. Garrett fired me to save $180,000. But my bonus payment isn't just compensation. It's contractually linked to intellectual property transfer rights Jordan negotiated 15 years ago. Dead silence. Mason finally spoke. Intellectual property transfer to who? To me. Personally. Hudson, Brandon said carefully. Are you saying that if your bonus pays Friday morning, you'll own AutoSecure? I'm saying Jordan was very thorough about protecting the company's core assets from hostile takeover or incompetent management. More silence, then Mason. Jesus Christ, Jordan, what did you do? Wednesday, 10 a.m., Thunder stock opened down 15% from Monday's close. The financial media was paying attention. CNBC ran a segment called Merger Monday Blues, mentioning personnel disruptions at several automotive companies, with Thunder specifically cited. By noon, the stock had dropped another 8%. Total decline, 22% in 2 days. My phone rang. Jennifer Foster. Mr. Clarke, I wanted you to know something. Garrett offered me your old position yesterday. Chief Technology Officer, $220,000 salary. Congratulations. I turned it down. That surprised me. Why? Because when I asked basic questions about auto-secure architecture, he couldn't answer them. He kept saying we'd figure it out during transition. A CTO job where I can't get straight answers about our core product. That's not a promotion. That's a setup for failure. What did you tell him that I don't work for titles? I work for people who understand the technology they're responsible for. My father didn't come up from San Antonio and work Ford Rouge for 20 years, so I could take jobs from people who don't respect the work. Something loosened in my chest. Jennifer understood what this was really about: respect for the craft, for the knowledge, for the years it takes to build something meaningful. Jennifer, that was the right call. Sir, can I ask you something? Ask away. Is Thunder going to survive this merger? I looked at the countdown timer. 46 hours, 18 minutes, 3 seconds. That depends entirely on decisions made in the next 2 days. But Jennifer, whatever happens, you're going to be fine. You've got the skills and character to succeed anywhere. Thank you, sir. That means more than you know. After we hung up, I realized something had shifted. This wasn't just about Garrett anymore, or even my own vindication. It was about people like Jennifer, who deserved to work for companies that valued their contributions, instead of seeing them as line items on spreadsheets. Wednesday, 4:30 p.m., an email arrived from Garrett Riley, CEO of Stellantis North America. Mr. Clarke's Stellantis is prepared to discuss alternative arrangements for auto-secure licensing that don't depend on Thunder's corporate structure. Would you be available for a confidential conversation? G. Riley, the countdown read. 42 hours, 30 minutes, 15 seconds. I stared at that email for 10 minutes before responding with a single line. I'll be available Friday after 11 a.m., Thursday, 6:30 a.m. My phone buzzed against the nightstand. Patricia stirred but didn't wake. Mason Riley's name on the caller ID. Hudson, we need to talk. Good morning, Mason. The board held an emergency session last night until 2 a.m. Garrett's been suspended pending review. Brandon is having a hard time with his son's decisions. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Because from where I sit, it looks like you orchestrated this entire situation. Mason wasn't wrong. Jordan had given me the tools 15 years ago, but I'd chosen to use them. Mason, Garrett fired me to save $180,000. What happened after that was business responding to contractual realities. Business, Hudson, you nearly destroyed a company that employs 847 people. People with families, mortgages, kids in college. That stung because it was true. In my focus on Garrett's arrogance, I'd lost sight of everyone else affected by Thunder's collapse. The employees weren't my target, but they were collateral damage. I sat up carefully, not wanting to wake Patricia. Through the bedroom window, frost covered our neighbor's lawn. The kind of February morning that makes Detroit feel like the edge of the world. What are you proposing? Come back, not as an employee, as a consultant. Help us through the Stellantis transition. But I need to know, can you actually transfer those licensing rights back to Thunder? I looked at my phone. The countdown timer read 28 hours, 30 minutes, 12 seconds. The transfer happens automatically when my bonus clears Friday morning. After that, I own AutoSecure outright. But ownership doesn't mean I can't license it back to Thunder. At what terms? That depends. Is Garrett permanently out? The board will make that decision Friday morning. But given the circumstances, yes, I think Garrett's done. Then we can talk. Thursday, 2 p.m. Patricia found me in the backyard sitting on the old picnic table Jordan had helped me build 10 years ago, watching Mason build a snow fort with the neighbor's kids. Their laughter carried across the frozen yard like music. Penny, for your thoughts. Just thinking about what Jordan would want me to do. She sat beside me, close enough that I could smell her shampoo, the same brand she'd used since we were first married. And what's that? Protect the work and the people who do it, but not necessarily the company. What's the difference? The company is just a legal structure. The work, AutoSecure, the technology, the innovation, that's bigger than Thunder. Jordan always said the work would outlive all of us. Mason waved at us from his snow fort, cheeks red with cold but smile bright as summer. He's going to need college money in 10 years, Patricia said quietly. I know, and we're going to need health care when we retire. So whatever you decide tomorrow, decide it with a clear head, not just your heart. That evening, Garrett Riley called personally. Mr. Clarke, I wanted to follow up on my email. Stellantis is prepared to offer you a direct consulting agreement for AutoSecure development and deployment. 3-year contract, $8 million total compensation. I nearly dropped the phone. $8 million was more money than I'd make the rest of my career at Thunder. That's generous. You built something remarkable. We want to make sure it continues to evolve. What about Thunder? Thunder would receive a licensing fee for existing deployments, but future development would be handled through your consulting firm. I thought about Mason's words, about the 847 people at Thunder, about Jennifer Foster turning down Garrett's offer because she believed in doing things right. Mr. Riley, let me ask you something. Would this consulting arrangement include bringing on additional technical personnel, people I'd want to work with? Absolutely. We'd want you to build a team. Then let's schedule a formal conversation for Friday afternoon. Friday, 10 a.m. I stood in Thunder's lobby for the first time since Monday, visitor's badge clipped to my jacket. The receptionist smiled nervously when she saw me. Mr. Clarke, they're waiting for you in conference room A. Mason was there along with Brandon Walsh and 3 other board members I recognized. Garrett Riley had driven down from Auburn Hills. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Brandon stood when I walked in. He looked like he'd aged 5 years in 5 days. Hudson, I owe you an apology. Garrett's actions were inexcusable. The board voted unanimously this morning. His employment is terminated effective immediately. I'm sorry it came to that. Are you? Because I'm not sure my son learned anything from this except that his father can't protect him from his mistakes. That was harder to hear than I expected. Brandon was a good man who'd built Thunder into something meaningful after Jordan retired. He didn't deserve to watch his son destroy it. Garrett Riley got straight to business. Mr. Clarke, we need to know the current status of AutoSecure licensing. Can you restore Thunder's access? I opened my laptop and logged into the secure partition I'd created years ago. My watch showed 10:58 a.m. 2 minutes until my bonus cleared. I can transfer the licensing rights back to Thunder, I said. But I have some conditions. Name them, Mason said. First, Jennifer Foster gets promoted to Chief Technology Officer immediately. She understands AutoSecure architecture better than anyone except me, and she has the character to lead technical development responsibly. Done. Second, Thunder establishes a technical mentorship program. No more critical systems depending on single points of failure. Brandon nodded. That makes sense. Third, I'll consult on the Stellantis integration for 6 months, part-time, mostly remote. After that, I'm retired. Agreed. My phone buzzed at exactly 11 a.m. Bank notification, $18,000 deposited to checking account. The countdown timer on my laptop flashed green and displayed transfer complete. I owned AutoSecure for about 30 seconds. I pulled up the licensing transfer interface and typed in Thunder's corporate credentials. Another biometric scan. Another transfer authorization. Thunder Automotive Solutions now holds full licensing rights to the AutoSecure system, I announced. The relief in the room was palpable. However, I continued, I've also accepted Mr. Riley's consulting offer for future AutoSecure development. Thunder will handle current deployments and Stellantis integration. My team will work on next-generation systems. I looked around the room. Everybody wins. Thunder keeps the merger. Stellantis gets their technology, the employees keep their jobs, and I get to retire on my own terms. The handshakes were brief but genuine. Brandon pulled me aside as the meeting broke up. Hudson, I know you could have handled this differently. You could have let the whole thing burn down. Thank you for not doing that. Jordan wouldn't have wanted that. Neither did I, really. What are you going to do now? I smiled. Learn what it feels like to wake up without a countdown timer in my head. Friday, 7 p.m. Patricia and I sat on our back porch, despite the February cold, sharing a Bell's Two-Hearted Ale and watching the sunset over Detroit's skyline. Mason was inside video calling with his parents about the snow fort he'd built. How does it feel? Patricia asked. Different than I expected. I thought I'd feel more vindicated. Instead, I just feel relieved. Good relieved or bad relieved? Good relieved. Like I finally put down something heavy I'd been carrying for years. My phone had been quiet all afternoon. No crisis calls, no emergency meetings, no systems failures requiring immediate attention. For the first time in 27 years, Thunder's problems weren't my problems. What are you going to do with 6 months of part-time consulting? Train Jennifer, document everything, build a team that can innovate without me. Make sure what Jordan and I build can survive and grow. And after that, we go to Wisconsin. We spend a month on the lake. I teach Mason how to fish properly. I remember what it feels like to wake up without obligations to anyone but family. Patricia smiled and leaned against my shoulder. Think Garrett learned anything from this? Maybe he's 28. People can change if they want to. Brandon's a good father. He'll make sure Garrett gets another chance to do better. You sound almost sympathetic. Jordan always said everyone deserves a chance to learn from their mistakes, even NBA kids who make bad decisions under pressure. In my pocket, my phone buzzed once with a text message from Jennifer Foster. Thank you, sir. I won't let you down. I smiled and put the phone away without responding. Jennifer didn't need my approval anymore. She'd earned her shot. The countdown was over. For the first time in decades, time belonged to me again. From inside the house, I could hear Mason laughing at something on his video call, the sound mixing with the distant hum of Detroit traffic and the gentle creak of the porch swing Patricia and I had installed 15 years ago. The same swing where we'd sat through layoffs and recalls, plant closures and grand reopenings, the endless cycles of Detroit's automotive industry. You know what I realized today? I said. What's that? All those years I thought I was building AutoSecure for Thunder, or for the industry, or even for Jordan's legacy. But really, I was building it for moments like this, so I could walk away on my own terms. So I could choose family over work, finally. Patricia raised her beer bottle. To choosing family. To choosing family. We clinked bottles as the Detroit skyline turned orange and purple in the winter twilight. Somewhere in the distance, a train horn sounded, carrying freight through the heart of the Motor City. The same city that had built my career, shaped my values, and now was releasing me to whatever came next. 3 days ago, I'd been Marcus Thompson's age when this all started. No, wait. I was Hudson Clarke, 54 years old, recently retired from Thunder Automotive Solutions. For the first time in 27 years, that was enough identity for one man. My phone stayed silent. The countdown timer was gone from my laptop screen, replaced by a simple wallpaper photo of Patricia, Mason, and me at last summer's Tigers game. Mason was wearing a too-big baseball cap and grinning at the camera. Patricia had her arms around both of us, and I was smiling the kind of smile I hadn't worn to work in years. Some things, I realized, were worth more than any merger, any system, any career that stretches across decades. Some things were worth coming home to. And some lessons about respect, about consequences, about the difference between price and value are worth learning the hard way, even if you're not the one who has to learn them. The timer had run out, the game was over, and for the first time in longer than I could remember, everyone who mattered had won. Sometimes the most valuable lesson you can teach someone isn't about success. It's about understanding the true cost of disrespecting the people who built what you're trying to inherit. In the end, I learned that the real power wasn't in the code I'd written or the systems I'd built, but in knowing when to walk away and trust that the work would continue without me.